In some ways, I think I've been building toward this webinar for almost 20 years, this town hall that I'm hosting on Monday, the 27th. In a different lifetime ago when I was working in mega churches, I didn't understand it then, but my constant question was like, who is this for and why do it this way? And even though 20,000 people were walking through the doors every weekend, there was an obvious question of, with all of these resources invested in the scale of the whole thing as the church world's absorbed this sort of scale obsession, what happens if it actually works? Like, what's the end game here? And the longer I played in that game, the longer the way I saw the way the machinations worked, the more terrifying the answers became. And I made some different choices and went a different direction and tried some things and learned some hard lessons. And then in a total reinvention, I was, for economic reasons mostly, was out selling insurance. And everybody around me took the word on somebody else that this was good for people and these products were perfect and everybody needed one and you should only use the lines that we sold and we were right and the products were magical. And that didn't resonate for me, right? And you can hear the logic of our era about magical products that are now everywhere, right? And as I broke it down, as is usual, the math didn't match the incentives. The way they worked wasn't as promised. And yeah, there were use cases and there were things that they were useful for and that some people should have them. And there was actually an easier way to sell them if you thought about them in a more structural and less religious way. But people didn't want to do that because that's not how you extract massive amounts of capital into one system. And at the same time, I started looking at the training and the recruitment systems of the world I was in and how it was chewing people up and spitting them out all under the banner of we care about people and we're going to build careers. And I learned in the trenches how really insidious and honestly creative the extractive system can be and how often it's protected by good people who just want to do their jobs and take care of their families. And I was one of those people. And I had to face that personally all the way up in and through when I was the COO of that organization. And I had to ask myself what I think many people like you might be asking yourself is, what am I willing to do to support and participate in these broken systems just to survive or to grow my business or whatever? And I built a consulting practice, CultureCraft, to help ventures get past these self-imposed ceilings. A lot of that in the post-COVID era, and the norms were breaking down and we were all there. The culture was fracturing. And the first signs of what was now pretty clearly a near permanent trust-broken economy were picking up. And I built the working system, what I call the ecology of trust-made growth, to answer fundamental questions about how to grow ventures and not lose yourself along the way. How, in fact, this work of purposeful growth, generative growth, pushes leaders, pushes us, like it pushed me, back into my own well-being, back into my own honesty, and really working to understand my capacity to do what I wanted to be able to do in a way that felt right to me. Building in a trust-made way really calls out and called out well-intended leaders to become great leaders and facing, as I had to do, the demons and our own complicity. Some people didn't want to face that, right? And I understand that, and that's good for them. And we don't need everybody, but we might need you. Because right now, what has become clear to me is that the work is too big for one person, for one organization, one firm. And really, the work is building back trust, recovering trust into the way we run the economy. That work is no longer optional. I believe we're at something of an inflection point. That the AI explosion has taken the subtext of the K-shaped economy, the distribution of wealth, the brokenness in our neighborhoods and our communities, that the AI explosion has taken the subtext that has been brewing for a couple decades and made it text. This is why we're fighting over data centers and are you using LLMs and is this AI written and all of that stuff, is because we can now see writ large the extraction of everything we care about from broad use to one tiny place. And it's now overt. And we can see the political stalemate and the politicians and how all of this really enriches them, most cases, regardless of their party. Because systems, particularly man-made ones, grow until they calcify. They grow until they have to get hard and ironclad because they're fundamentally frail things and they have to resist their own breaking down. And of course, the more things get ironclad, the more they oxidize and they rust, and they become dangerously inflexible and unfixable. I want you to think about like those images of old amusement parks overrun by nature. At this moment, the mass scale of trust breaking of our economy can't be fixed at the system level, at least not relatively easily. It has to be remade. There has to be a shift in where the energy goes. We have to reawaken, I believe, as all economies do, at the small and middle market levels, below the level of attention of the extraction machine, where you likely live, right? $20 million company, $2 million company, $500,000 consultancy, all of these kinds of places. The small and middle markets, as you know, I don't have to tell you this, are being squeezed out of the value stack so that the top can take more and more and more of the economic pool, and then the perception of value gets more and more narrow. And what that does is then you see commoditization. Oh, it's all the same. Why can't robots do it? And consolidation, which is, hey, let's just make bigger and bigger companies doing more and more generic things. That's why you hear, it just makes me sick, but you hear talking heads in wealth management and media and software foolishly who've let the big news headlines about how many transactions they're having and how many firms have sold and how many small companies have been devoured by capital, as if that's a goal worth having. Okay, so any one acquisition could be good for the buyer and the seller. That's not the point. Just like whether or not you wrote that LinkedIn post on Claude is the point, right? It's a transformation of the value stack and the economy that works underneath it. And it was never about AI as a technology. It was always about a narrative that could justify this economic compression, and we're seeing it in full scale now. My work in firms counteracts all of that, and we've been doing it for a while, and it's been proven inside of firm after firm that we've co-created with or trained or supported. But this has to be bigger than one person, one consultancy. It needs a lot of us. So what I decided to do is something I've never done, is this sort of town hall structure, this town hall webinar, and I've resisted this for years. That the idea that if I would go and stake a claim to some bigger mission, or that my work was painting a picture of what a world we could build together. Because you guys, I was just honestly really scared of sounding like these hollow online grifters that I had known and seen and felt were everywhere. But my resistance to taking a more direct role and helping all of us move toward a more expansive way of being in the economy and building an economic future together shouldn't drive the bus. I should face my own fears. You should face your own fears, because the resistance to talk about these things and actually talk about a path forward together, that has produced confusion. We've gotten feedback, right, Nick? I don't really understand what it's all about what we're doing, who it's for, and why you should join what we're doing. So this webinar, this town hall, is the beginning of that conversation at a new level. So when you join us, you're going to get a conversation that moves past all the what's wrong-isms that populate like the Substack world. What you'll get instead is a clear description of who and what is required to move out of the broken economy we're in and into a trust-made future with more expansive opportunities. That's not a Pollyanna, pie in the sky, fix the whole world thing. It happens one leader, one business, one market, one corner of an industry at a time. And you have to be a part of it. You have to co-create it. Now, of course, along the way, we'll see what's been taken from you. This fundamental idea that you should have a way to grow your business and live with your ethical, purposeful values at the same time. It's been implied that you can't do that you have to sort of sell out to LinkedIn and Meta and all of these places and feel this sort of constant tension between economic benefits and moral good. Lots of people benefit when you treat growing your business and living ethically as opposite each other. You know who doesn't benefit? You. And you should be able to, in fact, you can make more money doing what's right. And I want to show you how. So I'll map out multiple paths forward that are specific to where you are across these different scales, what capacity you have, and really what you want to build next and how that applies to different next best actions for you, for your team, for your industry. So all you need to do is tap below, tap right over here, fill out this spot, obligatory pointing on the video, and fill out the registration page and get the reminders for when we go live. I'll see you there on Monday the 27th in the town hall, having this conversation, working together to co-build this future that we've all said should be possible and that we have the tools to do. We just have to use the right tools in the right ways together. I'm really looking forward to it.